Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Tamara.
And I'm Sheena.
And today we're talking about relationships. More specifically, we're going to be looking at a self-help book that became very popular in 1996. And it's The 5 Love Languages by Garry Chapman.
Let's take 2 steps back before we do that. This is a brand new season of Let's Talk About It. And this season, we're focusing on relationships as a whole. So we're going to look at all sorts of relationship-related topics. But today's focuses on this book.
Yes. Why did we decide to start with this particular book?
I think this is a particularly cool book because it shows how language can affect your relationship. And I don't mean just words. I mean actions and gifts and all sorts of things.
Yes. So if you haven't read The 5 Love Languages, we're going to actually be breaking down the book in this podcast, but if it sounds like something you should be into, I would suggest going and buying the book and giving it a read. Let's start with some background. So it was written by Dr. Garry Chapman, who used to be a marriage counselor. So it comes from someone who knows about relationships and made it his life's work to help people be better in their relationships.
Okay.
So it's not just a self-help book by someone who decided, hey, my marriage is great, or I know about relationships and they're talking, out the wazoo. This is someone who has had experience with many different couples and they've got experience in relationships. So I think it's a good place to start when you're looking at this kind of book.
It was so interesting because you and I did the love languages test.
Yes.
And it really opened my eyes to how different our communication style is and how important it is for me that you do certain things, but you didn't realize that. And I didn't realize it on a conscious level, but when we dug in, suddenly a lot became clearer.
Yeah. So just to take it back a little bit, in the book, Dr. Chapman actually lays out different types of language that people use to communicate love. And to help you figure out which one you are, which one your partner is, they've actually created a test that you can take which shows you what your main love language is, but then also sometimes your subsidiary love languages. It depends on you as a person. Some people have multiple, some people have one.
Okay, so I think at this point people are going like, what are you talking about? What's a love language? Are you talking about the words I'm using?
Yeah, well, basically it's different ways of communicating. When we're talking communicating, we're not just talking about spoken language. We're talking about actions. We're talking about gifts. We're talking about ways of being with each other. So we'll go through the different love languages so that people can understand it better.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So the whole premise was when he was doing counseling, he kept getting people saying that they don't feel like their spouse loves them. They don't feel like their spouse understands them. And I think that gets to the core of the issue. People communicate differently and have different needs. And the discrepancy between those needs is what causes a lot of strife in relationships. It's not the only cause, but it's a cause for a lot of the daily issues that people have.
So at this point, I still wouldn't know what the heck we were talking about. So let's break it down for them into the different love languages. So there are 5 of them, right?
There's 5 of them, okay.
Okay, so what are they?
So it's words of affirmation.
Okay, what is words of affirmation?
Okay, so these are words that express love and that build up your partner, okay? So
would this be a compliment, for example?
Compliments can be one, but it's not just compliments. It's just words that show affection and show that you're affirming them as a person, that builds them up. Building up is the point here. So you get some people whose way of being is that they're self-deprecating, right?
Right.
But they do that to other people too. So
okay.
You funny and I'll call you an idiot. That is not words of affirmation. So if your love language was words of affirmation, that would really break your heart because it is completely against what you need. So a better way to be would be that you're funny or just to simply laugh. Laughing in this case would be a words of affirmation. It's a way of showing you that you're funny, complimenting your funniness, whatever it is.
So let's just stop there for a minute and talk about this. You brought up a very salient point, which is that often people are self-deprecating and this infests their relationship. I have seen partners call each other exactly that, idiot, stupid, dork.
It can be even things like, sometimes something will start out as a joke. You'll call each other bitches or whatever it is.
Right.
And the thing is, those words do have negative connotations and for a good reason. And it can start out funny, but I think they can
naturally
become bad.
Us women particularly tend to have a lot of negative feelings about ourselves. We tend to be self-doubting a lot. And if you had to say to me that I was being an idiot about something, it would sit and fester and gnaw at me and make me feel worse and worse and worse. And the more you did it, the worse it would become the cycle.
Yes. But the key here is it's specifically if your love language was words of affirmation.
Right.
Because it doesn't affect all people in the same way. Like, it can still affect you, obviously. I mean, you're a human being with a psyche, but for someone whose words of affirmation is their love language, it will affect them deeper and it will become a problem.
Words of affirmation as a love language is when you really need to hear.
Yes, you need someone to show their love verbally. Basically.
Okay, so you need verbal.
Yes.
Okay.
So this could be something as simple as those jeans look great on you. Instead of ignoring.
This was a really great dinner.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Or you always make me laugh.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be direct compliments. It just can be something that shows that you notice, but verbally.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
With terms of endearment count?
Of course, yes. So anything which is a positive, uplifting language that you're saying to someone else would be words of affirmation.
Okay. Cool. So what's the second one?
Okay, the second one are acts of service. Okay. So acts of service are things which you can do for someone else. Someone whose love language is acts of service, it means that they enjoy doing stuff for other people, but they also enjoy when people do stuff for them.
Right.
Okay. And we're not talking, for me, the word service feels a bit like, it feels a little bit like, I don't know, you're under service to someone else, and I don't like that term personally, but I think it's a great term to describe what it is.
You don't like it because it's not your love language.
Yes, but
it happens to be my love language.
It's your love language.
And so if you do something like the dishes or make dinner or feed the dogs, then I feel like you love me.
Exactly. So a person whose acts of love language is acts of love language. Acts of service is their love language. This will probably be a very big driving force in their life as a whole. They're an actions person.
Yeah.
They're going to be a doer, and that falls through into their communication and how they show their affection. So whether it is doing the dishes, making dinner for someone, all of that, deciding to do a chore that's not yours, all of that shows appreciation to them and it shows them that you care. Again, this isn't about having someone do something for you. It's not about control. It's just showing someone that you love them and by giving thought, time, and effort to something.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially if whatever it is that you're giving thought, time, and effort to is something that's important to them.
Exactly. So, again, and if acts of service is something that's not your driver, it can be very difficult for you. And it's something that might not be top of mind, like for me. So It's something that falls by the wayside. You have to be very conscious to actually do it.
You have to be proactive in all of these because we'll get to yours in a minute.
Yes. So with love languages, and I think here now that we've done two of them, you can see that if it's something that's not your own strong suit, it's difficult to remember to do it. Right. Because you tend to do your own love language.
Right. Yes. Exactly. So let's talk about yours and then we can see the difference between the two.
Okay. So my love language is physical touch.
Yes.
And this one, people are just like, oh, well, isn't everyone's love language physical touch?
No, not at all.
Okay. I'm a very physical person. I like to hold hands. I like someone to touch me, tickle, massage.
When she means tickle, she means like soft tickles on her back. She does not mean funny tickles.
No, not like...
Don't do that.
No. Just like stroking. It's just any touch, hugging.
Playing with her hair. As we sit here now, our knees are touching. She's looking embarrassed.
And my knee moved away. But anyway. So my love language is touch. When I'm not feeling great, when I need reassurance, I need touch. And for Sheena, this can come across as very clingy.
And it's the exact opposite for me.
Yes.
If I'm feeling vulnerable, so I'm feeling sick or I'm feeling upset about something, I don't want to be touched.
Yes. And when I see her feeling not great, I want to hug her because for me, that makes me feel better. So before we did this, I didn't understand. It was, why don't you want me to comfort you? Why don't you love me? But that's not the case.
It's not the case at all.
It's different ways. So if Sheena's not feeling great, a better way might be to, I don't know, go make her a cup of coffee.
Exactly. Right.
Or something.
Which is an act of service, which makes me feel loved. And it's not a case of being clingy when I really don't want touches. And here's an unfortunate side effect to Tomorrow's superpower here, is every time she gets sick with the flu, she wants to cuddle with me. And I don't want to get sick. If I could live in a bubble during flu season, I totally would.
Okay.
You're listening to The Lesbian Talk Show. TheLesbianTalkShow.com, your hub of podcast information.
All right, so the next love language is receiving gifts. Now, I think this one is probably one of the most controversial love languages because it seems extremely selfish.
It's also misunderstood, I think, by everybody who's not a
gift person.
Yes.
So for me, when I first heard receiving gifts, I was just like, wow, that's shallow.
Right. You want stuff?
Yes. And I'm just like, well, I'm so much better than that because I don't want like stuff. I just want you to be with me. And I want to hit myself over the head because it's like such a shallow way of thinking.
A little judgmental over there.
It's hugely judgmental. I'm a terrible person.
Having said that, I totally get it. As somebody who's not, I don't really like gifts. I find it clutters up my life.
Okay, so the thing with receiving gifts. Now, granted, there is a wide range of what a gift could be.
Yes.
Okay, and some people do want a Chanel handbag or a car or whatever it is as a gift, and that's what they're going to appreciate. Fine. But it's not about the materialism. It's actually about the thought and meaning that went into the gift.
Yes.
And that's where the important part is. So it can be that, you know, you once were on a date and you were chatting about your favorite childhood book. And you lost that book and it makes you kind of sad. And then one day out of the blue, I'll go find that book and I give it to you. That's a gift, but it's also a meaningful gift. It's not just something expensive or something to make just to give you to shut up or whatever it is. There's meaning behind it. It could be, you know, recreating a meal that you've spoken about. So there's many things that are gifts, and it's actually nothing to do with the materialism, and that's important.
And that's exactly it. Because the people who are driven by the gift giving, I mean, if you go into the research and stuff, what's behind that is the fact that you noticed, that you paid attention, that you thought about them, that you could follow through and turn that into something that is a memory.
Yeah, and it can even be something small, like, you know, stopping at a petrol station on the way home from work and picking up your favorite chocolate. That's a gift.
See, that's a gift I can get behind.
Chocolate's always a gift you can get behind. But my point is, it doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It just has to show that you've been thinking about the other person and that you understand them, basically. Like with all of these things.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
None of these are better or worse. They're just different ways of being.
Yes. So then the last one is quality time. Okay. So this love language is about undivided attention. So it's spending time with each other, but spending time with each other in a way that is energizing, I suppose, for the person whose values time as the love language. So it's, you know, it's not watching TV, it's not sitting on each other on the couch while you're on your phones. It's actually spending and engaging with each other in a way that builds the relationship.
It must be really difficult in this day and age for people who spend their lives on their phones or watching TV or...
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm saying that, but again, you know, if you love a particular TV series and it's your thing, that could be quality time. You know?
Absolutely.
If you're gamers and you enjoy playing, I don't know, some smartphone game together, whatever, that could be quality time. Don't let me tell you what quality time is, but the thing is, don't mistake spending time together for quality time.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, make sure that when you're spending time together, there's that something that makes it special. It's not just being in the same room.
Okay, so people have now heard this podcast, right? Where do they go from here?
I think the next step with after listening to this podcast is to actually go and do the test. So on Google, just Google 5 love languages test, and there's multiple free ones, but on Dr. Garry Chapman's website, the official 5 love languages website, there's a test there as well, and it's completely free. You do have to give your email address, but that's fine. He sends you emails about the different love languages, really, and like updates to it or how to go about using them.
It's very generous. A lot of these things you have to buy the book to do it, but I also recommend, if this is something that's interesting to you, if this is something that you think will help your relationships with others, help you understand other people better, get the book.
Yes.
Support the author. This dude has done some amazing research and come up with a really interesting set of dynamics.
We'll put a link in the show notes so that you can go buy the book if you want it.
Absolutely.
But the thing for me is that I don't like to recommend self-help books generally, because I feel like sometimes the authors don't know what they're speaking about. But in this case, this is an expert and this makes sense, you know? Yeah.
Here's the thing for me. It's any book, not just self-help books.
True.
Any books. I'm very, very particular about my media, and I want to ensure that we're providing value when we do recommend something. This dude's done a good thing. I'm happy recommending his work.
Yes. So, you know, if you are in a relationship and you feel like sometimes you just aren't connecting, or you feel like there's different expectations between you two, or you have different priorities and you don't know how to deal with this, it's not a deal-breaking situation. You just have different love languages generally, or different ways of communicating.
It was a big eye-opener for me when we did the tests and we came out with like completely different things. Something that is my love language you see as a burden.
Yes.
As something that, like, why would I want to do that? And for me, it's very much like, well, I'm doing that because I care.
Yes, but for me, it just feels like work.
And
Which...
Right, but for the other way around, with the touchy-feely thing, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be touched when I'm feeling horrible. I just want to be left alone.
Exactly.
And now I get it. Now I get why you're like, you know, trying to hug me and stuff.
I'm like a koala. It's like hanging on for dear life.
It does help, though, because it has helped me to understand that there's more to our communication than just words.
Mm. And just remember, like, lack of communication is the biggest reason for divorce and separation. It's because it's a difficult thing to get right.
Yep.
And it's something that everyone deals with, even in relationships outside of love relationships.
It's true. My mother's a gift person, and I know that straight off because she puts a lot of thought into her gifts, and she expects a lot of thought back for her gifts. Yes. Gifts are a big thing for her.
Yes. And that's actually an interesting point. If you go onto his website, he's actually got love language tests and stuff for children as well. For parents and children, and for different types of relationships, because it does carry over. It's actually communication in general. Yeah. I mean, you might even have similar things with your co-workers. You might have a co-worker who's a huggy person. You might have a co-worker who's always bringing in cookies or whatever. That's just the love languages at play.
Completely.
The guy who likes to sit at your desk, you know, talking to you all day, and you're just like, Jesus, I want to work. He wants to spend time with you. So
why aren't you giving him quality time?
So I think it's a good thing for understanding people in general and relationships.
You know that horrible feeling when you feel like you're speaking 2 different languages in the middle of an argument? It feels like you're just not crossing that communication barrier. Well, this is one step closer to helping bridge that divide.
Yes. So if you do feel like you need help with your communication, or even if you don't feel like it,
even if you're just kind of curious,
go do the test. Just do it and make your loved one do it.
If nothing else, then you'll know.
you'll know. So thank you for listening to the first episode in the Let's Talk About Relationship series.
Yes, and we're going to be bringing you all sorts of interesting things about relationships and the complexities thereof. So stay tuned next week.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, we'd love it if you'd go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find it. You can also share this podcast with your friends, families, whoever.
Mm-hmm. And we're on Spotify now. So if you're listening to podcasts on Spotify, come find us there. I think that's all for this week.
Go hug someone. Go give someone a gift.
Go do the dishes.
Go do the dishes. Thank you.
Bye.